Hey everyone, welcome to another Haze Reverb video, and this week we have just a few things to talk about, and then I'll talk about just a new addition on the spreadsheet. So first off, we have Valentine Skadi as a rerun, and I would recommend to skip her. She's not particularly useful. If you want to pull for her just for collection, that's up to you. But aside from that, she doesn't really see any use at the moment. There's been one Crusade Raid boss where she did work, and that's because that boss was one of the few, or basically the only boss that did not have immunity 2. So if you look at exceptional circumstances here, she can bypass immunity 1, or any boss that doesn't have immunity on it. But most bosses will have immunity 2, and there's only one exception where that boss's whole gimmick was that you're supposed to be able to weaken the boss and reduce their armor and resistance. It basically had max of everything, and then you're supposed to reduce like their stats. So Valentine Skadi was really good on that boss. But yeah, aside from that, we haven't seen a boss that has a mechanic similar to that before. Yeah, unfortunately, this just doesn't work on 99% of bosses. You feel like that's a pretty bad design choice because, like, in most raid-based games, you're gonna have some sort of debuffer that reduces the stat like this, right? But unfortunately, this game is a little, not quite in that sort of state. I don't know if they'll ever change that, but that's how it is, unfortunately. In PvP, she doesn't really get much use either because it takes a turn for her to debuff a unit, and then the opposing team will get a turn, and in that time they might kill your DPS, and then even though you've debuffed their stuff, your DPS doesn't even get to move, right? So in PvP, she just doesn't have any room to fit into a team either. Considering how powerful most units are in PvP now, it makes it much more difficult to run something like at Skadi that relies on debuffing units, because then she herself doesn't actually do damage. So yeah, having a support unit is very tough in PvP, right? Because even just actual support units like Lena and stuff, you can only usually afford to run maybe 1 or 2 of those units, and then yeah, everyone else needs to do some sort of action, pretty much, right? So that is why I would say Skadi is a skip unless you want her for collection. Alright, now I'm going to move to the website because it's just a little bit easier to see the stuff that we got for this week, because there's not that much actually. So aside from the rerun of Valentine Skadi, we have lucky number 7. So this is the slot machine event. I forgot exactly what you get in there, but just make sure you claim that every day. It's not currently out as of the time of recording, but it should be out by the time you see this video. Then we got double resource this week, and obviously this is probably where you're going to spend all your stamina on. There's no side stories as well, which means that you can focus all your stamina on this, which is pretty nice. And then we also have a addition to the story recap mode, so you'll be able to watch this one. I believe this is the Valentine Skadi one. I don't know exactly what you get in there. I didn't recheck, but you won't be doing this week anyway. This will be for when you have some downtime. You can spend your stamina there. But yeah, for now, I'd say this week you can do double resource. Now, finally, I'm going to move to my spreadsheet. So now I've finally added a new section here for a general Crusade raid guide. Now, the format of this is basically I go through how you think about designing your team, right? So you select your tank, you select DPS based off what the boss is. If you have the generic DPSs, like if you have Belina, you can just always use Belina pretty much. There'll be very rare cases where you won't be able to use her. Worst case scenario, you'll run like a Skadi or something, but the more general way to pick is you pick based off the damage reduction type that the boss has. So if they're a mobility boss, you use Valentine Charlissa as an example. If it's an armor boss, then you use Mel, right? And it also depends on how high the damage reduction is. So if it's 100% armor, then you'll probably be using Mel. But if it's lower, like if it's only 50% armor, then you could probably just use Belina, and she'll out DPS even a anti-armor DPS, right? So yeah, use what you have. Next part here, if you have a debuffer, currently only Coast Guard and Varia are the options, but who knows? In the future, they might add more. And assuming that it works on a boss, like you have to check. I put a note down here saying some debuffs won't work. Like the aforementioned Valentine Skadi does not work, right? But Coast Guard does, and it's because if you check this exceptional circumstances, right? There's like a thing that you can click on. It will say whether it goes through immunity 2 or immunity 1, etc. Right? So for Coast Guard specifically, she pierces immunity 2 and she can't be dodged. The dodging is important because it means that her debuff will always stay up. Because if they dodge, which is 100% mobility, then usually the debuff will get halved in duration. But because she ignores dodge, it means her duration will always be the maximum of 12 turns, assuming you have it skilled up. Then you fill up with some damage supports. Now, as a beginner, you'll probably be using Franca and Tina, right? And they cover your attack percent between the two already. Now, once you get over limit Maybell, or if you get a Maria with max skill, or at least rank 9, I think, then you won't need to use Franca anymore. You can take her out unless you need the healing for whatever reason. But you basically swap Tina for the Maybell or Maria, and then you just take Franca out and use a different support to buff more crit damage, right? Because crit damage is going to be the bottleneck. It's much easier to cap your attack percent over your crit damage. So yeah, you might need to fill out with more crit damage buffers. These are some examples. Now, I also put a note down at the bottom here that to refer back to this section, right? Because this will be I only put like some units into the raid guide, right? But like this is a more extensive list of units, and I'll be adding the future units that are good in these sections into these sections. There are actually some that I'm missing here just because I don't have the unit, so I can't take a picture of the portrait. But once I do get them, I'll add them in here. It's not super important because I think like Pepetta is missing for one of these. I forgot which type she is, but I think she's anti-res. But Belina is like just outperforms everyone so much. I didn't really think it was too necessary to add, someone else, because most people, generally speaking, I would recommend to always get Belina anyway, especially for those who just want to cruise through most crusades and not have to worry about switching units constantly and just want to use like a more generic team. This is sort of like that guide to be more suited to that, right? So you can use Belina as this is a sample team. Belina is your main DPS, and then you fill out with a bunch of supports. These are like mostly the budget ones, and the Monica and Avadi are examples of more expensive ones that you can use if you have them. But yeah, if you don't have them as well, I have a note here saying you don't need to use a full team. If you watch my previous budget teams for Crusade raids, most of them don't use 9 units. Mostly because I'm trying to make it as budget friendly as possible, so putting as few units as possible in the team as well is also considered budget. But if you do have a lot of crit damage buffers, just fill out as many as you can, because that will stack. And generally speaking, unless you're like really prepared for Crusade raids with more premium units like Ney, and then being able to trigger your EXs on units like Avadi and Jaru, it's very difficult to reach crit damage cap. So if you're in that sort of situation, you'll probably be stacking up as many of these normal units, like all their normal skills, right, to buff crit damage, rather than rely on the EXs to get that big burst of crit damage until you're a bit more prepared for Crusade raids. But yeah, that is the general gist of what this guide is. It's mostly to help the mid-game players. For the early game players, I always have the budget teams, but I guess you could also look onto this as well. You just need to know like what units are used in the team lineup, and you just fit in whatever you can. But yeah, if you're struggling with Crusades and you need a more budget team, I always do a budget one for every Crusade raid. Right, so just check that out. Usually be out within the first couple of days after it releases. Yeah, so anyway, if there's anything I might have missed that you think I should add to the notes, right, then I'll consider it, and if it's important, I'll add some more information that might help other people. But aside from that, I think that pretty much covers it. I will continue to work on this. I'm sorry it took a long time to get this one out. Thankfully, I feel like this probably wouldn't have helped you that much on the current boss. I already put out a bunch of video for that anyway. But yeah, this will be hopefully good to help you decide on what to go for in the long term. So anyway, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.